Hello, hello. Welcome to this weird experiment video I'm putting out, I guess. Uh, Basically, what happened is I had tried recording Arkham Origins for Christmas and New Year's episodes of Let's Plays, but no matter what I did, the game just did not want to be recorded properly. I tried streaming it through PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5. Can't record games or live stream them when you're streaming a game, apparently. I have a physical version for the PS3, and I have a capture device. Hooked all that up. Didn't want to record that. The video footage got corrupted, and some of the later parts of it started just having sizable chunks missing from the recording. So now I'm doing this weird little, uh, I guess, analysis. Not It's not really going to be analysis. I'm basically going to be going through the events of the game, giving my thoughts on them a little bit here and there, but mostly it's just going to be uh, gi- giving my just general impressions of the game, and we'll be watching the thumbnail I made for this get drawn in essentially real time, since I want to say it took me like maybe an hour or so to get everything for it recorded and whatnot, but we'll see, I guess. Anyway, that over, let's get to the story synopsis of the game. Start off with Bruce entering the Batcave. He hears a news report about a riot going on at Blackgate, instigated by Roman Sionis, aka Black Mask. We get his suiting up montage for a little bit, and Alfred protests that he should leave everything to the police tonight, especially since it is Christmas Eve. Uh, Arriving at Blackgate, it acts as our tutorial level for the game, introducing all the basic, mechanics, the punching, the shield, getting around shields and enemy varieties and things like that. Pretty decent little tutorial level, especially since they seem to throw a little more at you in this game at the beginning than they do in the other ones. Like, I want to say maybe like the third hallway, you go down, you're fighting off dudes who are wearing armor and have the riot shields, whereas normally you'd just be fighting off normal goons still. It's whatever. After we go down a few hallways, we save Warden Joseph from being attacked by a couple of Black Mask's thugs. Sees a drone flying through the hallway and starts to follow it. Eventually, the drone gets destroyed by Killer Croc, who's accompanying Black Mask to kill Commissioner Loeb in the prison's gas chamber. Batman fails to save Commissioner Loeb, unfortunately, but he does eventually catch up to Killer Croc and Black Mask, and a fight with Killer Croc ensues. Uh, Kind of interesting fight, I guess. Not great though. It's basically a different take on the Bane fights from Arkham Asylum and Arkham City, though slightly different since instead of having him charge at you, he does like leaping ground pounds, and then at certain stages he picks up canisters which you throw batterings at to blow up, and that does the majority of the damage. After defeating Croc, the fight ends with Batman, or with Croc telling Batman about the other assassins Black Mask is hired to kill him for $50 million. This prompts Batman to return to the Batcave and gives a rundown on the various enemies to Alfred and to us, the audience. We also get our next objective by identifying who was controlling the drone that was patrolling Blackgate. It was the Penguin, obviously. Alfred once again begs Bruce to ignore the assassins and let the police deal with them, but Bruce refuses to let innocent people get caught up in the shenanigans, especially since it specifically involves him. When we first get back to the city proper, Batman notices that he's having issues communicating with Alfred back at the Batcave. Turns out that a computer hacker has set up a network of relay towers to muffle outgoing transmissions and to basically get blackmail info from for important people throughout the city. And the main towers, GCRs, and find that one of the hacker's main screens. Batman calls this hacker Enigma, since the hacker says it would be an interesting mystery to solve. So that right there tells us, the audience, that it's the Riddler. Since Arkham Origins is a prequel to everything that happened in the Arkham games up to this point, it's kind of a neat little retelling of how Riddler first gets foiled by Batman. It's interesting enough. Let's see. And Enigma / Riddler's challenges are pretty much the same as they are in every other game. They're easy for the most parts. They're just annoying and require you to have all the special upgrades unlocked to complete them all. And some can't be gotten in this game until the very end of the game, like after the actual story wraps up. His questline is broken up into two parts. There's the relay towers. Once you destroy all them, he leaves a message for Batman saying that he's ruined everything, but he'll get him back one way or another. And then when you collect all of the little data packs that he's collected throughout the game, that are scattered throughout the game, basically the Riddler trophies for this game, you get to unlock essentially his supply closet. Well, supply closet. It's more like the room that he was actually hiding out in while doing his hacking. And when we bust open through all the doors and whatnot, we are greeted with the canonical first ever Riddler trophy, as just a neat little nod to what happens throughout the rest of the series proper. After reconnecting to Alfred at the Batcave, Batman continues to track down Penguin's head fence or seller of wares and question him on the Penguin's current location. Penguin is spending Christmas on his rundown cruise liner called the Final Offer. Basically, he runs a casino and an underground fight club out of there, and some of his gun running operations as well. Batman fights his way through the interior of the ship until we get to the fight club arena, where one of the assassins, the Electrocutioner, steps up and tries to claim the $50 million for himself. But Batman says, yeah, right, and gives him one swift kick to the face where he just falls flat on his ass. And that's it for Electrocutioner for the most part. Making our way further into the ship through the casino area, Batman comes across Penguin torturing a member of the Falcone family in order to try and muscle in on their territory. Batman roughs Penguin up a bit, but before he can get any real information out of him, Wilson Slade, aka Deathstroke the Terminator, interferes, trying to get the bounty on Batman as well. This is the actual boss fight of the area. And the fight with Slade is one of the better fights in the game, though it is a little cinematic, I guess is the nice way to put it. Basically, the fight is very counter-heavy, where you're kind of just waiting for Slade to attack you so you can counterattack and then do like a small single string of hits. About halfway through, the counters stop working and you have to use the quick grapple attack to pull Slade forward and do, again, another simple single combo hit, and then you start over the process again. As as far as spectacles go, it's entertaining. Most people I've talked to about this game and just in general seem to enjoy this fight. Do purely for the cool visuals and whatnot that it offers. This gives us our first major upgrade as well. The claw launcher, I believe it's called. Let's see. Yeah, claw launcher, or it's essentially the line launcher, like from the previous games. Lets us explore some of the areas, and we'll need it later on to make just walkways and whatnot to get around easier in certain areas. Batman taunts Penguin one last time and talking about how he's going to be nice and cozy in his office, all completely locked up and not having to worry about anything while Batman's freezing his ass out in the cold. So basically, that's our cue to just leave the area and head out. Exiting the boat's interior, we get a large projection from Anarchy. Anarchy's trying to liberate Gotham from the corrupted hierarchy, corrupted cops, judges, bureaucrats, all that other BS. He invites Batman to join him in his quest, I guess if you want to call it that. Thinks he and Batman should be working together. And has a test sort of set up for him. Anarchy has set up 3 separate bombs around the city, and basically what we have to do is reach each one and beat up Anarchy's henchmen before the time runs out. Do that, and you get the final fight with Anarchy in the courthouse. And it's pretty easy. You beat up a handful of dudes. After like one wave of dudes, Anarchy jumps down to join them. He has an electric baton, so all you have to do is jump behind him and hit him a few times. Once Anarchy is taken care of, though, Batman has him tied up. Turns out Anarchy's just like a relatively young kid, like either still in high school or just fresh out of it. So Batman decides to just leave him tied up for the cops to deal with and heads out to continue the main plot of the story. Let's see. After breaking out of after doing that, getting back to the main story, we have to go to the GCPD in order to track down Black Mask's last known location. Alfred suggests coming back to the Batcave first for the next upgrade of some concussion grenades. We go back and forth real fast to do that. Batman enters through the roof access, which is fine. My main issue with this part of the game is that snipers start showing up after this, which is really early in my opinion for enemies with sniper rifles to be showing up, but it's fine, I think, for the most part, but we'll see. I don't want to say Arkham City had you fighting dudes with guns pretty early on too, so it's not that big a deal. It's just more of a minor annoyance than anything. We work our way all the way down from the top of the roof to eventually to the sewer levels, but first we got to get into the server room. In order to get to the server room, though, we have to jerry-rig a frequency jamming device because some of the rooms are have like a security system set up where anyone trying to use basically it's just a way to force us to have to do extra work when trying to use the little decoder thing Batman has in all the games. We have to shut down a frequency jammer, and then we have to decode the password to activate the locks. It can also jam up enemies' weapons and stuff, but honestly, most of the weapons in the base game don't really need jamming, so it's kind of a waste. In fact, the only enemies I would argue that you should try to use that would need that type of weapon used on it would be the freeze and the deal to work on this or whatever. When Batman gets back to the server room, he has a little run-in with teenage Barbara Gordon. She can't believe how cool that she's actually getting to talk to the super cool Batman that everyone's talking about. And she agrees to actually help. She points out the thing Batman's wanting to hack. Basically, as long as he promises to use it for putting away real bad guys and not, just corrupt criminals and things like that. Batman takes a bit of a liking to her and notices how basically compliments her on how intelligent she is and things like that. Some of the SWAT, though, overhear Barbara talking to him in gas room. As soon as she walks out, she tries to cover for Batman while he escapes and heads back down to the sewer. On the way down, we bump into Jim Gordon. And Batman quickly disarms Detective Gordon, but then lets him go, showing that he doesn't actually want to fight him or hurt Gordon, since he's one of the few good cops in this precinct. Basically, it ends up with him telling Gordon to stay out of his way while he deals with all the assassins, and he exits out through the sewer. And once we get out of the sewers, Batman gets a weird invitation from the Mad Hatter. 3 of his goons are dressed in White Rabbit mask and invite him to a fancy tea party at the Hatter's hat shop. We head over to the shop and end up getting in a fight with Mad Hatter, but he hypnotizes Batman into taking a little trip through Wonderland first. This side mission is basically kind of a rehash of Scarecrow's nightmare levels in Arkham Asylum, just visually made to resemble more Alice in Wonderland themes with the occasional warped heart or spade symbol, checkerboard platforms here and there, giant keyholes to go through for doorways, things like that. Pretty neat visuals, gameplay wise, nothing we haven't seen before. Fun to do though. Once we run through and deal with, I believe, 2 waves of Hatter's goons, we find the young girl Hatter has kidnapped named Alice and knock Hatter out and tie him up for the police to deal with and kind of just leave. It's a little harsh, kind of just leaving the poor girl there stuck in a room with the guy who kidnapped her while he lays unconscious, but I don't know, I guess he doesn't really have anything else to do, so we head back onto the main streets to try and continue the main story. And shortly after beating the Mad Hatter, I ended up getting another side mission activated. Barbara Gordon has somehow hacked her way into Batman's communications network and asks him to help her dad recover some stolen weapon shipments. Basically, some of the corrupt cops are selling SWAT tech to Penguin, and Penguin is trying to sell it to basically anyone who can afford it. So we have to run around, find 6 different shipments of these weapons, and use our frequency jammer on them. Apparently, I think it just keeps the case that they're in permanently locked until the police can round them all up again. But it's just kind of funny to me that, oh man, all these guns, and then you have this like radio frequency jammer thing shorting them out. I don't know, it doesn't make any actual sense to me, but it's silly comic book video game shenanigans. It's fine. Don't think about it too much. After that's done, we finally head off to Lacey Tower, which is supposed to be where Black Mask's apartment is. We find that it's an active crime scene due to the fact that Black Mask's most recent girlfriend has been killed there, and the apartment was also set on fire to try and cover up as much of the evidence as possible. Batman activates Detective Vision and allows us to scan the area for turning it into a crime scene. And we basically play back the events of what happened. Batman figures out what was going on. Turns out Sionis' girlfriend was being stalked by someone. And Black Mask may actually be in trouble himself, but there's still question about all the other assassins in town. However, with this new evidence, Batman tries to track down Black Mask. He overhears a report on the GCPD radio frequency about a robbery happening at the First Bank of Gotham, which is owned by Roman Sionis. So it's weird that Black Mask is still missing, but apparently he's robbing a bank's being robbed, or his bank is being robbed. We get there and fight off some of Black Mask's goons in the main lobby before proceeding to the vault room. We end up crashing through the ceiling down onto a few goons, but are quickly surrounded by members of Black Mask's crew. And it then is revealed to us that it's not Black Mask who's behind all the shenanigans throughout the night. No, it was the Joker, making his first major appearance timeline-wise, which, I don't know. This plot twist was something a lot of people, myself included, were kind of disappointed by, because the way the game was originally advertised, it was advertised as Black Mask getting back to his roots, or not Black Mask, Batman getting back to his roots, fighting gangsters and street level criminals, and not having to deal with any of the like supervillain stuff until a few weeks later it was revealed that Black Mask hired a bunch of assassins, and that's where like the supervillains were supposed to come in this game, and that would have been good enough for most people, I think, because most people are at least somewhat excited by seeing like Batman in his early days where he's actually just dealing with street level thugs. It's a take that's not really done too often, because every time they've tried doing it in recent years, it turns out, oh no, it's this villain, like Ra's al Ghul or the Scarecrow gets involved, like in Batman Begins, Cape Crusader. He's still fighting a bunch of his more classic villains with some weirdos thrown in and whatnot. So, and it's just one of those things. The Joker was getting a lot of how do I put this? Like, Joker was becoming overexposed a lot through a lot of the stuff. A lot of Batman media was being pushed out at the time because, yeah, it makes sense that the Joker is like Batman's complete opposite, where we know near nothing about the Joker, but everything about Batman and so on and so forth. But you can only, like, what makes him special is that he doesn't show up all the time, and when he does, it's always for something big. So having him show up more and more just takes away that special sense of why he's the number one bad guy. Anyway, that's my 2 cents on it, but we'll get back to that. Let's see. Joker then tosses a bomb to try and cover his tracks while he and his new goons escape with Black Mask back to the steel mill. Batman narrowly escapes and heads towards the beginning of the bank. After clearing out the room, once more, one of Joker's new hirees have has told Batman that they're heading to the Scion Steel Mill to basically just to act as a wild goose chase, leaving Black Mask there while Joker does shit elsewhere in the city. Once we get back out onto the streets, you after like beating up a group of cops who are in front of the bank, you hear baby and spot a baby carriage, like sort of in the camera frames it like in the middle of a crossway with like a light shining on it to grab your attention. We go check that out, and we get jumped by Lady Shiva, another one of the assassins. Before a fight can properly occur, Shiva lets us know that she is merely here to test Batman, and that if he does not hurry, an innocent man will die. We head off in the direction of the map marker, which ends up putting us in the park. I can't remember the exact name of it, but a cop is chained up there, dangling over water that's been electrified, and it's our job to cut him down and save his life. After we save him, the cop tells us that his partner is in danger because he shot at Shiva and she ran off, and he chased after her. And let's see, Batman follows. Apparently, the cop's partner, nicked her shoulder, and she's got because there's a blood trail leading down more or less back to where we first met Shiva. Not quite that far, but close enough. And she jumps us again. We have a very short tussle, like 1 or 2 combos, not much. She mocks Batman for claiming that what he's trying to do as Batman is faulty and bound to fail, and that he should join up with her and her master to try and make it a real difference. Batman, of course, declines, and Shiva sets up a final showdown. Back at Sheldon Park, this time it's like in the main lobby of where that cop was, basically, instead of the actual interior of the building. The fight with her is pretty easy. She has like a handful of the League of Assassin women from Arkham City with her. We fight them off as well as Shiva herself. Not a terrible fight, but not really anything special. Like it basically feels like just fighting a group of this assassin women on their own. Like Shiva doesn't add anything unique or special to it. So let's see. After beating Shiva, she leaves to inform her master that Batman's basically not as much of a promising prospect as they were hoping for, and she then does like the whole ninja vanish thing where she drops a smoke grenade and just disappears. And after this, there'll be occasionally like homeless people or other criminals hanging out on roofs, asking for help, and that's a trap set up by these League of Assassin ladies, and you just have to fight them off. It's again a fine little encounter. Adds some different groups to fight throughout the game. Nothing game breakingly hard or amazing or anything like that, though. Just kind of neat. All right. Once we finish that, we try heading off towards the Steel Mill, or I did rather. But then I picked up another transmission from the GCPD. This one mentions a murder victim on top of a building. We decided to go check it out, and since it was relatively close by, believe it or not, However, this ends up being a trap that the police try to use to capture Batman. But before anything can happen, the police helicopter that they were flying around gets shot at, and the rear rotor blows up, causing the plane to crash, or plane helicopter, Jesus, to crash. Batman then sets up a crime scene to figure out what exactly happened and who's responsible for the death of the cops. Turns out it was a big ricochet shot from Deadshot, another assassin. He leaves a message for Batman from where he took the shot, saying he wants to face off against him at the bank. So I fly back towards the bank, being a little annoyed since I had just finished up there not that long ago. And once we enter, the boss fight starts pretty much instantaneously. It's more or less a copy of the Two-Face fight from Arkham City, where you play as Catwoman at the end of the game, where basically you just have to knock out all of Deadshot's goons, and then he goes to the center of the room, and you have to like sneak up on him to make sure that the person he has like held hostage doesn't get shot and killed, because that equals an instant failure. For the most part, as long as you stay up in like the gargoyles and stuff, you don't really have to worry too much about Deadshot's goons or anything like that. In fact, I kind of just stayed around them on top of them the whole time, and systematically like would do the inverted takedowns, and then move to another one, and then after like both two of them were taken out, I would chop them down and just keep doing inverted takedowns till the only person left was Deadshot. So super easy task, all things considered. Alright. With some more of the assassins taken care of, I finally end up making my way over to the side of the steel mill. We deal with a few of Joker's goons that are guarding the outside. And Alfred shoots a message saying he's now able to track the electrocutioners, like the electrical signals coming off his suit. So whenever we want to track him down, we can, because after knocking him out in the fight arena at Penguin's boat, he kind of gets up and walks away off screen while we're doing other things. So in order to go find him, we'll have to track him down, quote unquote, properly. Let's see. We then enter the steel mill, deal with a few groups of thugs, going from room to room, tracking down Roman Sionis, like trying to figure out where he was left, basically. Once we get to his office, we see him tied up in his own little torture rack that he has for himself, for torturing other people, that is. And Joker's obviously left him roughed up as a sort of a little gift for us, I guess. Batman cuts Sionis down, and while the two are arguing about where the Joker's location is, Copperhead sneaks in, another one of the assassins, and ends up using her poison-dipped claws to poison Batman. She then slinks away into the shadows after taunting Batman to come and catch her if he can. Batman calls Alfred and tells him to synthesize an antidote to the poison that he's just been injected with. He finds like a drop of it and sends now analyzes it with detective vision and sends that back to the Batcave. So, or the information back to the Batcave. Alfred once again worries about Bruce getting in over his head, but he starts working on the antidote all the same. Batman ends up walking through the steel mill hallucinating about all the different people he's let die throughout the night. Commissioner Loeb, the bank manager that was being held hostage by Joker and Black Mask's former thugs. And after reaching the loading docks, Copperhead shows up and starts attacking Batman more straightforward in order to the effect. Batman's long enough for the bat through and the antidote, which Batman immediately injects himself with. Copperhead taunts him, saying that it won't be enough to help him, but it's just enough to get the final shot on her and essentially shut her up for good. He's able to overpower and tie her up for the GCPD to come pick up. Before he locks her up in a shipping crate, she tries to bargain, saying that she'll tell him where the Joker is, and that he's just called a meeting with all the assassins. Batman sort of mockingly says thanks for that she basically mocks her, saying that by telling him where the meeting's at, that there's a meeting, he already knows how to find them. Ends up locking her up in the shipping container anyway. And that's because, like I said a few minutes ago, Batman can now track Electrocutioner with his location, so no need to worry about any of that. As we head to the exit of the steel mill, Batman overhears some of Silas's crew talking about running drugs for him now that he's freed from the Joker. This side mission is really easy. It's literally just Bane's venom canisters from Arkham City. All the containers, aside from one, are out in the open city and can be destroyed right away. The last one requires Electrocutioner's gauntlets to get to and has to be put off till then. But after destroying it, you go to the one of the Black Mask goons, or no, it's not one of his goons. You just get a message somehow saying that the very last container is at the church, and a little map marker pops up telling you to go destroy it. And after just upon getting to the church, we enter it and immediately get into a stealth sequence because there's like 4 dudes in the room. Basically, all you have to do is grapple up to the gargoyles, do an inverted takedown on each of them, and then once they're taken care of, you blow up the very last container. This causes Black Mask himself and like 5-6 dudes to show up. You beat the crap out of them, and that's it. That's it for Black Mask and his silly little side plot for this game. Ultimately, kind of disappointing. But anyway, back to the plot. Batman takes Alfred's advice on tracking down Electrocutioner. He activates one of the gizmos on his gauntlet to pull up how close or far away the signal is. It leads us to the Gotham Royal Hotel. Batman ends up going through the parking garage and using a service elevator. All the elevators in the hotel have been messed with and only go up or down so far in the building. So we'll also need security codes to access elevators to the higher floors where the Joker is. After getting to the floor where the security office is and clearing it out, Batman gets the codes, and we get to see a meeting between the Joker and the remaining assassins. Joker finally takes off the black mask that he's been wearing the whole game, and reveals his true identity to them. Electrocutioner is less than impressed and asks who the Joker is. Joker says he's the guy with money and pulls out a gun on him to basically shoot out the windows back behind Electrocutioner. And for all his wonderful free thought and curiosity, Joker decides to throw Electrocutioner out the window. lucky for us, Electrocutioner lands in the same room where Batman was, and Batman decides to take Electrocutioner's gauntlets since, well, he won't be needing them anymore, and they may come in handy for us. He ends up melting them into a suit, which makes for one of the best, arguably the best upgrade, at least in this game anyway, as when you activate them in combat, it basically double or even triples the damage you deal to enemies, making fights way less convoluted and much more streamlined than they were in the previous game. Turns like guys holding the riot shields doesn't do them any good. Guys wearing armor, the big muscle guys who have to have the beatdown attacks done to them, doesn't matter. All get taken out really quickly with these things. As a solution to solving puzzles, it's not that good though. It's basically acts as a quick power source to like electrified walls or anything that needs electricity. Sometimes opens doors. Just sort of a half-assed like, hey, you need this to do this, that sort of thing. So not as impressive as its combat capabilities. Anyway, after getting the gauntlets, Batman proceeds to go up the two towers of the hotel, grappling back and forth as needed, saving as many civilians as possible, and dealing with all the goons in a manner in beating up all of Joker's goons as need be. So, anyway, let's see. Once we get to the final floor, Batman notices just how many dead bodies are laying across the floor in the hallway, and he's a little mortified by just how many random innocent people Joker decided to kill and leave laying around. He just says he's dealt with psychotic people before, but not like this. In order to get to the Joker, we have to get to an access elevator that goes up to the executive suites. However, the GCPD SWAT team still thinks they're working from Black Mask, and we have to clear them out first. There's like, I want to say 6 or 7 of them in there. Many of them are spread out. There's like a couple who are stuck together. As long as you can deal with them while they're like separated, it's not a big deal. Let's see. After dealing with the SWAT team, Batman hops in the elevator and decides to hide on the roof of it to try and get the drop on Joker or Bane. Unfortunately, it worked. It's there, Bane, and just really knows Batman's on the ceiling. He pulls him down through it, and Bane starts beating Batman senseless until the Joker tells him to knock it off, threatening to blow them all up with all the bombs that are strewn about the hotel. Bane then throws Batman down, tells him he's got just a minute to say whatever he wants to say to him before he continues pummeling Batman. Batman, however, gets the upper hand on Joker and tries to deal with him, but Bane jumps back in and picks up where he left off, throwing Batman out onto the balcony. And the fight with Bane, as well as the one at the end of it, is more or less the same as the one for the previous games, with Bane charging at you to deal damage. However, Bane is much faster in this game than he is in those games. He's able to turn on a dime significantly easier than he was in the previous 2 games. He has a ground pound attack similar to what Killer Croc had earlier in the game, and for whatever reason, they decided to make Bane completely immune to Batman's batarangs in this game. I guess just to ramp up the difficulty of the fight, but I don't know, it's a little annoying. As that was like 2 whole games of fighting this dude, and we kind of have the rhythm down to a very specific uh, pattern of buttons, and they just kind of say, "Nah, that's not going to work this time," which is a good thing. It varies up the gameplay a good bit from what we expect, but it's also just kind of irritating a little bit because it doesn't even do chip damage or anything like that. Uh, what we basically have to do though is initiate the full stun attack, which is the 3 circle button attack, and then initiate the beatdown attacks after that. This doesn't do a ton of damage, but it does let us build up until we get an auto takedown attack, and that does some damage anyway, at least enough to activate the next sequence of the fights. You have to go through this, God, what, 4 or 5, maybe 6 times before Bane's finally dealt with. And while all this is going on, while all that's going on, the GCB shows up to arrest everyone who's on the rooftops. That's been going on throughout the night. Joker, however, pops out onto the balcony with a assault rifle, shooting at the GCB copter, sending it into a spiral. And Bane uses this as the appropriate time to leave and regroup. Joker doesn't really like this though, and starts firing on the copter he's jumping in. Bane retaliates by pulling out a missile launcher and launching it at Joker. Missile lands behind the Joker and sends him flying off in the building. What would be his death, but Batman dives after him to save his ass. Upon landing somewhat safely, Joker pulls a gun on Batman and wants to know why he'd save him, since he's the guy who's been trying to kill Batman all night, but and points the gun at himself to see how far Batman's really willing to go to save him, and Batman does so to basically to show that he doesn't want the villains getting off scot-free and facing actual justice like they should. But let's see. At that moment, the GCPD arrives, specifically Officer Bullock and Officer Gordon. They surround Batman and Joker and try to arrest them, but Batman just escapes by grappling up to his Batplane. And then Bullock tries to question Joker on where Batman's going, but Joker, of course, doesn't know and still wondering what exactly is going on inside Batman's head. The story then continues with us in the psychiatric ward of Blackgate Prison, as we are now playing as the Joker. We sit through this version of his interview with Harley Quinn, and we hear the now classic spiel about how your memories aren't always so reliable, and all it really takes for people to go crazy is just to have one bad day. We then jump forward a little bit in the conversation where it seems like Harley's being very flirtatious with Joker, or at the very least, she's finding him more charming than she should. He then talks about Joker then talks about how when you meet someone special, it feels like your life is taking on new meaning and you'll do anything for that person. Harley, not knowing what's going on in his head, thinks he is talking about her. However, all the scenery from the game shows us that the only person in Joker's mind is Batman. We then cut back to Batman on his way home in the Batplane, and we hear the Joker's insane laughter playing over in his head. So clearly, the night's events have screwed him just a little bit. We return to the cave and get our final upgrade for the game, the glue grenades. And we also use the back computer to try and track down Bane's location. However, before Batman can leave, Alfred puts his foot down and demands that Bruce let the police handle everything, getting very heated and saying that Bruce is nothing more than a trust fund baby and that he's not ready to deal with people the likes of Bane and Joker and whatnot, since they're way more dangerous than the random muggers and gangsters he's been dealing with so far. Batman tells Alfred he's out of line and that the only thing standing between the way of criminals harming innocent people is him. Batman then leaves for Gotham once more to continue the night's work. Arriving again in Gotham, Alfred comes on over the radio giving a apology, admitting he was out of line, and Bruce admitting he was the same. No need for the two of them to be arguing over stupid things, especially since supposedly this is 2 years since Batman started up in Gotham. Like, you think they would have had this conversation before, like, many times before, honestly. So, anyway, while trying to find Bane, Batman hears a transmission from the GCPD about a large muscular man wearing a mask has been found dead and is waiting autopsy in the morgue. Batman doesn't really think it's Bane, but does decide to try and infiltrate the morgue anyway, just to make sure. We re-enter through the sewers like the way we exited previously and utilize the glue grenades, go through all the waterways and whatnot, clogging up steam pipes, things like that we need to do to continue forward. Once we're in the autopsy room, Batman confirms that it is not, in fact, Bane. It's just one of his henchmen that were exposed to a new strain of venom. Batman leaves the way he came in, and once we're back on the streets, we get another message from the GCPD. This one says that there have been several calls about gang violence breaking out in the streets. We go check out the first location that pops up on our map, and it turns out that Bane's lieutenant, Bird, is inciting gang wars in order to track down shipments of venom. Basically, Bird's trying to bring in as many shipments for Bane as possible, but Penguin has decided to try and swipe a few of them. That's what these gang fights are about. Penguin's been trying to fight off Bane's men. Once we finish up, we got Bird in the nightclub, My Alibi, and Batman heads there to deal with them. Clear out the goons who are on the outside, and then we head in to deal with Bird himself and like 2 guys who are hopped up on the new strain of venom. So, fight's really easy at this point, especially with the Electrocutioner's gauntlets. Like I said, kind of just eats through enemies like they're nothing. This also marks the last side mission that can be done before the end of the game sequence starts. So if you have like a ton of Enigmas, BS, or any other side missions that you just haven't done yet and you want to do them before the main story sequence ends, this is the last chance to really do them. Because after we stop Berg, we continue following the tracker that's on Bane, or where he's supposed to be, rather. We knock out a couple of goons guarding a door that are connected to a service tunnel of a collapsed-like traffic tunnel. After going through a few of the rooms, we find the main control room that Bane's been using for this game anyway. Batman notices that the new strain of venom, called TN1, is not stable in its current formula, and that Bane has been experimenting on his own crew in order to try and fix it, with less than impressive results. Not only aside from killing dudes, but it also causes there to be an issue with the user's long-term memory, specifically that they lose it and forget very key important information. Batman continues searching the room until he comes across something he was hoping would never be found out. Turns out, Bane has connected the dots and knows that Bruce Wayne and Batman are the same person, and that he might in fact be on the way to Wayne Manor. Bruce calls Alfred and tells him what he just found before blowing it up, and tells Alfred to lock all the doors and lock down every entrance to the cave as well. That way, Bane can't get in to harm him. Alfred thinks about calling the police, but Bruce tells him not to, because if the police found out, it'd be just as much trouble as Bane finding out, frankly. And that he also tells him that he's on his way back to the Batcave to help out. He would be doing that anyway until Firefly decides to cause a massive explosion on the Gotham Bridge. This puts several innocent people in danger, and Bruce tells Alfred that he's going to put a stop to that first before heading back to the Batcave. In order to enter this stage properly, we have to enter from the employees' entrance at one of the lower segments of the bridge. Once we enter, we have a brief exchange with Captain Gordon. And once again, Batman kind of just tells him to stay out of his way. We then go up one of the rooms and find that one of the support, not beams necessarily, but like one of the bridge support sections has a shit ton of bombs in it. After clearing out all of Firefly's goons, Batman defuses the bomb and learns that there are 3 more, one on the far end and 2 that are closer to the center. We go through the various rooms and maintenance shafts to get to the other 2 bombs first, and the last one needing access codes to open the door, connecting Batman's current location, which is like an old railway system that was connected to the bridge. Tries to get the codes from Jim Gordon, but Jim Gordon just returns Batman's words back on him, claiming that he'll handle it and to stay out of his way. Well, Batman takes a side entrance, which has been attacked by Firefly, and tries weaving his way through the destroyed section of the bridge to get to it. But then Firefly shows up and starts attacking us, using his flamethrower to char sections of the bridge and set us alight. In order to put an end to Firefly, we have to gum up his jetpack with the new glue grenades and pull him down with a grappling hook for one big slam. We do this like 2-3 times, and after 2 or 3 times, Firefly tries to escape. Batman uses a grappling hook on him to pull him back down, but we end up flying around to a different section of the bridge. And once Firefly throws him off, he tries to detonate the final bomb, but doesn't go off. We resume the boss fight, and after 2 more goes of glue grenades and slamming Firefly down on the surface of the road, we end up winning. Batman ties him up for the GCPD to handle, and all is good. While Detective Bullock is cutting Firefly down, Gordon walks over and has a little chat with Batman, who's secretly skulking in the shadows. Now, had they been more cooperative, they could have gotten things taken care of much quicker. Batman does his little disappearing trick, and once in the Batplane, he calls Alfred to tell him that he's on his way home. However, on the other end of the line is Bane. He has, in fact, infiltrated the Batcave and has left Alfred there for dead. Batman rushes back to the cave as quickly as he can, and it is completely trashed, with most of the tech destroyed, or at the very least, not functioning. Bruce reactivates the detective mode computer and uses detective vision to try and find Alfred lying amongst a bunch of rubble. Alfred's pulled free, but his heart is barely beating. Excuse me. Bruce thinks to use his new gauntlets as a makeshift defibrillator, and it doesn't seem to work at first, but slowly Alfred starts to wake up, thanking Bruce for saving his life. Bruce, however, feels completely defeated with everything that's happened tonight, not just all the assassins and all the damage done to the city, but also nearly losing Alfred and his secret identity now being known to one of his most deadly foes. Bruce thinks about uh, giving it all up, but Alfred reassures him that Bruce has been doing the right thing and has been doing good for not just himself, but for everyone in Gotham, and that his parents would be proud. Just then, broadcast comes over the back computer announcing that another riot has broken out at Blackgate, and that all available officers need to head there immediately. Alfred states that Gotham needs him. Bruce interjects saying it needs both of them. As we head off to the final sequence in the game, or the main game rather. Once we get back to Blackgate, it's basically just running through the same halls we dealt with, dealing with more enemies as we come across them. Once we get to the psychiatric ward and clear it out of like the 5-6 dudes that are in there, we end up saving the staff who were being held hostage, including Harley Quinn, or who will become Harley Quinn rather. She's still Dr. Quinzel at this point, but she tells Batman that the Joker's waiting for him in the Panopticon room. It's a big surgical theater. Batman goes there and finds that Joker has turned into a big fighting pit, and Joker has set up a weird little test for Batman. Basically, Joker has strapped himself into an electric chair that is connected to a heart monitor that Bane is wearing, and unless Batman can stop Bane's heart from beating, the electrical chair will fry him instantaneously. As he puts it, he's dying tonight, and it's either going back just as long as. Alright, there it is. The fight with Bane goes pretty much the same as it did the last time. Having to dodge around him, doing the big stun attacks and then beatdowns to hit a couple of takedown attacks. This happens until Jim Gordon breaks in and tries to set Warden Joseph free, because Warden Joseph is also being held hostage by Joker. But doesn't end quite so well, because basically Joker, despite being chained down, when Jim Gordon tries to pull him out of the electric chair, he disarms Gordon of his gun and slaps the little cap from the electrical chair onto Gordon's head, so that now, if Bane doesn't die soon, they'll both get completely fried. Batman beats the tar out of Bane enough to flatline the heart monitor. This makes Joker ecstatic because he believes Batman actually did finally kill someone, and is about to run off to cause more havoc. But before he goes, decides to take a shot at Warren Joseph. Gordon jumps in front of the bullet since he's wearing a bulletproof vest. No damage is done. And then Batman explains that he didn't really kill Bane, just put him into cardiac arrest, and is planning to resuscitate him, but he needs Gordon and Warren Joseph's help to track down and capture the Joker. Batman then resuscitates Bane and ends up, when Bane gets up, he knocks Batman up against the wall and injects himself with the new TN1 strain, and this causes Bane to mutate into the big stereotypical monster that we're used to in the previous games. To deal with Bane in this final sequence, we have to do special takedown. We have to sneak up on him, perform a takedown attack, but we have to do special takedown attacks where he's beside these like electrical conduits sticking out the walls. We do that until his health hits 0, and then it activates a quick time event style sequence where Bane throws us through a wall and right in front of another one of these conduits. And he charges at us. And right before he can connect, we use the line launcher to tie him up for one last big jolt to stabilize, to knock him out and stabilize the effects of the new TN1 strain. Batman ties him up, and Bane's muttering, "I gotta figure out who the Batman is," showing that his long-term memory has been screwed up as he no longer remembers who Batman is. And Batman gets back into the main prison to try and track down the Joker along with Jim Gordon. They deal with some rioting prisoners before Gordon points out that Joker went into the church chapel. And upon cornering the Joker, Batman tries to arrest him, but Joker tries to point out how they're super similar and they need each other to really have fun, and they could rule Gotham and all this stereotypical blah blah Joker BS. Batman's not having it though, and decides to beat him down rather viciously too, based on how it's caught on basically like how it's shot with the in-game camera. It's like very brutal and kind of just fucked up how many times Batman just like pounds his face in, essentially. It's one of those things where you kind of don't think about it too much when reading or watching stuff. But anyway, Batman knocks Joker out, leaves him for Jim Gordon to arrest, and Gordon says he needs to bring Batman in too, since he's still technically a criminal, being a vigilante. Gordon then gets a call from Detective Bullock on his walkie-talkie, and Gordon, upon answering, turns his back to Batman. Batman uses the distraction to go away, and that's it for the main story. In the events after the main story event, we get put back out into the town proper, and like I said, this is really mostly to finish up any of the side missions if you haven't done them. The last handful of regular trophies that you couldn't be gotten beforehand are now accessible. And there's actually one final side mission, and it's during the riot, 20 Blackgate convicts have escaped. It's up to us to run around Gotham and recapture them. It's another pretty easy one. It's a simple little victory lap and for playing through the game, and it is nice to have one last major thing to do, I guess, before, well, quote unquote, major thing to do before really calling the game quits. Basically, all you have to do is fly around to where they're supposed to be at. Like, you get little indicators on your map where they're at. You have to scan, like, they'll be hidden in a group of criminals, and you have to scan the group real quick to figure out which one's the exact convict. Not that it matters, because you can just knock them out in addition to knocking out all the other guys, and they'll be left there for the GCPD to pick up, and that does it for the main game. The DLC for the game, Cold Cold Heart, it's literally just the episode Heart of Ice from the Batman 90s Batman cartoon, where Mr. Freeze shows up. It just has a little more detail going on with it. We start off in Wayne Manor. Bruce is holding a big ceremony for Gotham's elite. They're naming Humanitarian of the Year award for most humane, like philanthropist in the town. But then the party gets crashed by Mr. Freeze breaking through with his freeze gun and a handful of Penguin's goons. Bruce has to fight his way all the way down to the wine cellar to get to the Batcave and suit up. Once he does this, he goes through a few of the rooms in the manor to deal with Penguin's goons and try to track down Mr. Freeze. Finds Freeze confronting Ferris Boyle. And once he tries to capture him, but turns out Batman's suit can't handle the freeze gun at the current moment. He is able to break out of the ice, but he can't fight it off as well as he would like to. What with his current upgraded suit not being ready yet. He's hauled Joe off to the lab inside of it to try and basically he's trying to do it as punishment for screwing up the experiment that turned him into Mr. Freeze. We fight through various rooms and deal with Penguin's dumb thugs. Once we get near the end of the first section of Gothcorp, though, we come across Penguin and Freeze are getting into a fight with each other. Apparently, Penguin doesn't quite know what exactly it is Freeze is doing here, but he wants whatever it is Freeze is after, thinking it's something of extreme value, but it's not. At least not to him, it wouldn't be. Freeze ends up freezing Penguin in a giant wall of ice and holding him, keeping himself blocked off from Batman and anyone else trying to get in. After bringing is frozen, Batman has to head to My Alibi to get parts for a cryo drill. It's one of the things Penguin was promised up front for Freeze. When we get to My Alibi, our new suit is fully upgraded and dropped in on us, letting us heat up batarangs, but also uh, function as basically we can do like heat attacks, and we can also unfreeze any civilians who have been caught up in Freeze's onslaught. We then go inside of my alibi to try and get the cryo drill, only to find that it's already been split into two pieces. We head out of the bar and head off to find the two pieces. One's on a rooftop relatively close by, being guarded by five dudes, all of whom have very powerful guns. I want to say like three of the dudes have sniper rifles, and they'll chew through Batman's armor, even fully maxed, really quickly. The second one's in like a shipping yard somewhere. Once we get that one, we go back to Goth Corp, uh, go through all the same rooms again, having to fight off goons more and more as we go. Uh, then we get to Freeze's old lab to get the. Uh, I guess it would make more sense for it to be like an anti-freeze solution, but it's not. It's the same liquid that powers Freeze's suit, so whatever. But it powers the cryo drill. So, and while in Freeze's old lab, Batman uses detective vision to figure out what exactly went on. He then learns that Ferris Boyle interrupted an experiment Victor Freeze was trying to do to save his wife Nora. Ends up flash frying Freeze and one of the guards. When the guard tries leaving the room, uh, he ends up suffocating to death because he can't breathe air that's above freezing temperatures, similar to how Mr. Freeze is. So we pieced together that Freeze built his suit, or at least a prototype of his suit, in that very lab as well. We then get the fluid we need to power the cryo drill. Head to back to where Penguin is frozen. Activate the drill. Then move onward into the final area for our boss fight with Mr. Freeze. This boss fight is unfortunately not as good as the one in Arkham City. For starters, in order to uh, even really be able to attack Mr. Freeze, we have to power up three separate. Well, they look like electric generators that we use the electrocution resistance are, but they're not. They're supposed to be like temperature regulators, and we're supposed to overwork them by using Batman's new heat gauntlets, and that causes the arena to freeze up and create giant icicles on the walls or on the ceilings. Uh, in order to fight Mr. Freeze, we're supposed to be able to like do various takedowns and stuff like that. Unfortunately, you can only do one stealth takedown on him, and then you can like from directly behind him. The second stealth takedown that they really kind of only plan for you to do is to like use the heat attacks like through the walls and stuff. Any other type of attack that I've tried on him, like using the explosive gel like in place, or even throwing batarangs or anything like that at him, just don't really do anything. Pretty much what I ended up having to do was wait for him to walk under some of the big icicles and throw a heated battering at them to drop on him, and that was the only way I was able to get through the whole fight. Because after the second phase, he refreezes the room, making and walks on top of one of the platforms that you can get under, but you can't uh, attack him during the second phase because he just doesn't go up on them. Basically, it's meant to be the sort of staging for like a one final thing. But anyway, we knock Mr. Freeze out. He uh, freezes us uh, in like reaction to being knocked knocked out, or knocked to the ground rather. Ferris Boyle gets out of his little chamber that he was being held in, grabs a pipe and starts wailing on Victor Freeze because he's an asshole and refuses to help Freeze or his wife because Freeze is begging him to at least spare her, but he doesn't want to because fuck for Victor Freeze apparently. Fuck being a good person and trying to help sick and near dying people with cryogenics. Anyway, Batman then breaks out of the ice and knocks Ferris Boyle out, and uh, he looks at Freeze and tells him that he can't give him what he wants, which is revenge, but he can give him what he needs, which is hopefully time to try and cure his wife's ailment. So, and that's how that ends. Uh, Pretty decent DLC altogether, but like I said, if you've watched the episode of Batman the Animated Series that this is based off on, you already know what's what and what's happening. Uh, and the fights, they're fine. They're not anything unique or particularly groundbreaking. It's just more excuse to play Batman Arkham. That's it, Arkham Origins, basically. Uh, Overall impression is this is a decent enough game. Like, it wasn't made by Rockstar, it was made by Warner Brothers Studios with assets from Rockstar. And as such, it's fine for what it is. It's not particularly great. And it does retcon a bunch of stuff that the previous games did. Like the TN1 new Venom strain is basically just the Titan formula, but not as finalized as what it's supposed to be in Arkham Asylum. And then, like, just some of the boss fights aren't as well thought out or well executed. Again, the freeze fight's not as good as the one in Arkham City. The fights against Bane are nice as a change of pace. Like, they're a little more difficult than what his fight in Asylum or in City is, but it's still just kind of the same fight, having to dive around and then wail on him when you can. It's a very fun game, though. I may come back it sometime. If I captured the game properly, I might try recording it and uploading episodes of an LP for it later. Don't hold me to that, though. I honestly have no idea why it didn't work the first time I tried recording any of these episodes, but there you go. If you enjoyed this, like, sort of pseudo scripted, pseudo rambly format I'm doing, let me know. I'm not against doing this type of video, but I'm not really an essayist per chance. I don't really feel like I do well with words. I'm more of a visual kind of guy. I've always preferred visuals over writing stuff down. I don't know, it's just more fun for me to draw things than to, like, write a story, I guess. But anyway, hope you all enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, all the usual blah blah YouTube wants us to do. And we'll see you next time with something different. Till then, hope you all have a good day. Stay safe. We'll see you then. Later.